Okay, 3 mechanism controlling the GFR, glomerular filtration rate. Jadi kamu baca lah glomerular filtration rate tu apa ya. Kalau kamu tak faham, you need to read more to understand about the glomerular filtration rate. Bila sebut tentang rate tu kadar. Glomerular filtration tu maksudnya proses nak tapis darah tu sehinggalah dia menjadi glomerular filtrate. Glomerular filtrate tu yang dah masuk ke dalam Bowman capsule tu, ataupun ruang di dalam Bowman capsule kita panggil sebagai capsular space. Okay? Ruang di dalam Bowman capsule tu kita panggil capsular space. Jadi sekarang ni ada 3 mekanisme to control the GFR. The first one is renal auto-regulation. The second one is neural regulation. The third one is hormonal regulation. Jadi renal auto-regulation ni already explained to you. Okay, saya dah terang lah ya tentang renal auto-regulation. Sekarang ni I will try to explain about the neural regulation. Neural regulation of GFR. Okay, I will read lah yang ini ya, apa benda yang ada ni. Like most blood vessel of the body, those of the kidney are supplied by the sympathetic autonomic nervous system. Supply ni maksudnya apa? Okay, supply ni maksudnya dikawal. Okay, dia being controlled by. Okay, dia being influenced by the sympathetic autonomic nervous system. Jadi sympathetic autonomic nervous system ni dia involved in the structure ataupun in the divisions of the nervous system. Jadi ini sepatutnya kamu belajar dalam neurologi nanti. Ada lagi ke subjek neurologi ya? Saya pun tak pasti. Kamu belajar dalam neurologi, dalam nervous system tu then be divided into 2 major part. We have the peripheral nervous system, central nervous system. Kemudian dalam central nervous system tu ada brain dengan spinal cord. Untuk peripheral nervous system terbahagi pada 2 pula. Dia ada autonomic nervous system dengan somatic nervous system. Autonomic terbahagi pula kepada 2. Dia ada sympathetic nervous system dengan parasympathetic nervous system. Jadi saya tak nak pergilah mendalam tentang bahagian tu. Tetapi nak explain dekat kamu sini, dia ada nervous system yang control the kidney itself, yang control the kidney itself. Dia kontrol macam mana? Dia lepaskan atau dia bebaskan norepinephrine. Okay? Dia bebaskan norepinephrine. This norepinephrine akan cause vasoconstriction. Dia akan cause vasoconstriction. Vasoconstriction. Vaso tu vessel lah. Constriction tu dia constrict. Dia become limited in space. Ataupun dia become become padat lah kan. Limited in space tu ruang dia semakin sempit. Jadi macam mana dia menyebabkan vasoconstriction? Melalui activations of the alpha-1 receptor here. Jadi alpha-1 receptor ni dia ada banyak dekat mana? Smooth muscle of the afferent atrial. Jadi dekat afferent atrial ni ada banyak reseptor ni yang sensitif to the norepinephrine. Dia sensitif to norepinephrine. Jadi kalau tinggi norepinephrine ni akan menyebabkan afferent atrial ni dia undergo the constriction. Dia become constrict. Jadi bila dia become constrict, limited blood akan being supplied to the glomerulus. Jadi limited supply blood to the glomerulus will affect the glomerular filtration rate. Jadi dia akan less urine being produced. Sebab apa? Darah kurang masuk ke glomerular. Ya. Inilah ya. Kemudian boleh baca lah more detail on that part. I already explain to you. Jadi dia ada 2 consequences kalau low renal blood flow. Okay, low renal blood flow disebabkan oleh vasoconstriction tadi. Jadi dia will reduce the urine. Kemudian dia ada greater blood flow to other part of the body. Jadi benda ni kadang-kadang berlaku sebab apa? Ada certain things yang happen in their life. Mungkin ada kehilangan darah ke, ada berlaku kehilangan air ke. Jadi tak patutlah benda-benda yang ada dalam tubuh badan tu dia jadi air kencing. Sepatutnya dia can be preserved by the body. Body will try their best to preserve that. Okay. Kemudian kita ada yang third one is hormonal regulation of glomerular filtration rate. Jadi ada two hormone here. Ada two hormone contribute to regulation of glomerular filtration rate. The first one is angiotensin 2. The second one is atrial natriuretic peptide ANP. Jadi both angiotensin 2 ni akan reduce GFR, ANP akan increase GFR, glomerular filtration rate. Jadi angiotensin ni dia buat apa? Dia very potent vasoconstrictor. Jadi maksudnya they can influence the vessel itself to constrict. Okay, to constrict. Jadi bila constrict, dia akan narrow. Dia akan have a limited blood flow at the afferent and efferent arteriole. Jadi dia akan reduce blood flow lah. Thereby dia akan decrease the GFR. Another one, we have the atrial natriuretic peptide. Okay, this hormone been secreted by the atrial cell. Atrial ni dekat mana? Dekat heart. Jadi macam mana heart tu boleh detect, macam mana heart tu boleh hasilkan ataupun secret rembeskan ANP ni? Disebabkan increase in blood volume. Jadi blood volume bila increase, of course, the blood itself will accumulate. Okay? Dia akan gather ataupun dia akan banyak di dalam jantung sebab jantung nak push all the blood to all part of the body kan. Ataupun dia nak push the blood to the pulmonary ataupun lung. Jadi dia akan detect if there is a increase in the blood volume. Jadi bila there is a increase in blood volume, they will secrete the ANP. Okay, dia akan secrete the ANP. Jadi ANP ni akan buat apa? Dia akan causing relaxation of the glomerular messenger cell. Jadi pergi tengok dekat glomerular tu ya. Kat glomerular tu ada messenger cell. Jadi dia akan menyebabkan messenger cell tu become more relaxed. Jadi bila dia more relaxed, they have more surface area. Jadi bila dia ada more surface area for the capillary lah, dia akan increase the glomerular filtration. Okay? Jadi di situ ada dua jenis hormon di sini. Bila dia increase the glomerular filtration, the blood volume tu will decrease. Dia akan kurang, dia hilang air. Jadi bila dia hilang air, dia hilang bahan-bahan tertentu, blood volume will decrease. This is three things, okay? Three mechanism to control the glomerular filtration rate. Okay, for the next part, we will look at the tubular reabsorption and tubular secretion. We finish about the ultrafiltration. Okay, ultrafiltration, the first part that happen at the glomerular and also the Bowman capsule. Jadi please make sure lah you understand very well about that part. Yeah. Okay, principle of tubular reabsorption and secretion. The volume fluid entering the proximal convoluted tubule in just half an hour is greater than total blood plasma volume because the normal rate of glomerular filtration is high. Okay, jadi half an hour is greater than total blood volume. Yeah. Jadi obviously some of this fluid must be returned somehow to bloodstream. Maksudnya bila dah banyak sangat dia masuk ke dalam capsular space ataupun Bowman capsule, jadi ini akan ganggu the blood volume, dia akan ganggu the blood pressure, dan dia akan ganggu blood flow inside our body. Jadi nak tak nak, we need to get back everything, okay, from the Bowman capsule, from the glomerular filtrate yang been undergo the ultrafiltration, yeah. Jadi obviously some of this fluid must be returned somehow to the bloodstream. Jadi from what process it can be returned? Reabsorption. Dia ambil semula. Kalau dia tak ambil semula, ini akan membahayakan tubuh badan. The return of the most filtered water and many of the filtered solute to the bloodstream, and is the second basic function of the nephron and the collecting duct. Jadi ini adalah fungsi kedua lah, nephron dan collecting duct, untuk jalankan reabsorption. Okay, jalankan reabsorption. Normally about 99% of the filtered water is reabsorbed. Jadi selalunya 99% filtered water reabsorb. Epithelial cells are along the renal tubule and duct carry out reabsorption. Okay, but proximal convoluted tubule cell may make the largest contribution. Jadi along the renal tubule and duct ni dia akan jalankan reabsorption. Tetapi yang paling banyak sekali jalankan reabsorption adalah proximal convoluted tubule. Okay, solute that are reabsorbed by both active and passive process include the glucose, amino acid, urea, and then we have ion. For example, sodium ion, potassium ion, calcium ion, chloride ion, bicarbonate dengan phosphate. Okay, once the fluid pass through the proximal convoluted tubule, the cell located from distally fine-tune the reabsorption process to maintain the homeostatic balance of water and selected ion. Most small protein and peptide that pass through the filter also reabsorb, usually via pinocytosis. Yang ni movement of substance. Jadi movement of substance ni across the plasma membrane ni, jadi dia ada banyak dia punya keadaan. Ada yang dipanggil sebagai pinocytosis, ada exocytosis, ada endocytosis, ada passive transport, ada active transport. Passive transport ada 3 kan. Dia ada osmosis, simple diffusion dengan facilitated diffusion. Jadi all this process they will help in the transport, okay, of substance when they want to across ataupun dia nak menyeberang the cell from the outside to the inside, from the inside to the outside. Jadi yang ini dia bagi tahulah usually via the pinocytosis. Okay, the third function of the nephron and collecting duct is tubular secretion. First kita ada ultrafiltration, kemudian kita ada tubular reabsorption. The third one is tubular secretion. Jadi the transfer of material from blood and tubule cell into the tubular fluid. Jadi tubular fluid tu yang ada di dalam nephron tadi itulah, yang ada dalam laluan nephron tadi, ya. Jadi dia secreted from outside to inside to become the urine. Secreted substance including the hydrogen ion. Nampak tak? They can control the acidity ataupun they can control the pH of the blood. Yeah? And then we have the ammonium ion, creatinine, and certain drugs such as penicillin. Tubular secretion have 2 important outcome. Okay, tubular secretion has 2 outcome. The secretion of hydrogen ion help control the blood pH. Ini saya cakap cerita banyak kali dah kat kamu kan. The second one is tubular secretion of other substance help eliminate them from the body. Okay, jadi eliminate. For example, the drugs, the toxin, they will be eliminated using the tubular secretion. As a result of tubular secretion, certain substance pass from blood into urine and may detect by the urinalysis. Ini bila kita buat urinalysis ni, bila kita buat analisis terhadap urine lah ya, dia boleh detect kehadiran dadah-dadah ni ataupun kehadiran toksin-toksin ni. It especially important to test athlete for the presence of the performance enhancing drug such as anabolic steroid, plasma expander, erythropoietin, HCG, HGH, amphetamine. Urine test can also be used to detect the presence of alcohol or illegal drugs such as marijuana, cocaine, and heroin. Okay, jadi we have this one. We have the substance filter reabsorb excreted in urine. Okay, excreted in urine. We have the water. Jadi water filtered. Jadi dia enter the glomerular capsule per day. Yang akan masuk ke dalam glomerular capsule. Glomerular capsule ni dekat mana? Okay. Ni glomerular capsule. Okay, glomerular capsule. Yang ni glomerulus. Okay, glomerulus. Nampak tak? Glomerular capsule atau Bowman capsule. Ruang ni kita panggil sebagai capsular space. Saya sebenarnya tak nak pergi turun naik penin kepala ya. Tapi kadang-kadang tu lah dia rasa tak puas hati kalau tak tunjuk gambar rajah tu. Nanti kamu pun pening kepala, apa benda lah saya duk cerita ni. Water, we have 180 liters, okay, per day yang akan masuk. Banyak ya, 180 liters ni. Kemudian akan reabsorb back to the water, back to the blood. Jadi lebih kurang 1 ke 2 liter sahaja yang akan dibuang per day. Okay, sebab apa? Reabsorption tu berlaku. Protein 2 gram. Okay, reabsorb 9.1. Jadi 1 gram, 0.1 gram sajalah. Dan kamu boleh baca lah yang seterusnya ni. Apa benda yang masuk ke dalam capsular space ataupun masuk ke dalam glomerular capsule ataupun Bowman capsule per day. Kemudian berapa banyak yang diabsorb balik, reabsorption berlaku, dan berapa banyak yang akan tinggal di dalam urine. Okey? Sebab tu baguslah saya rasa lah, tak tahulah kamu macam mana kan Totora ni. Very very simple kita nak explain ya. Barulah kita masuk kepada reabsorption routes. Okey, reabsorption route. Okey, laluan ni kamu boleh baca lah in detail apa benda yang ada cerita dekat dalam ni. Tapi saya nak pergi kepada gambar rajah sajalah ya. Figure 26.11. Jadi reabsorption route. Jadi sini adalah dia punya space lah. Okey, dalam nephrons tu. Kemudian yang kat luar ni tubuh badan lah. Kemudian dia ada peritubular capillary. Jadi untuk reabsorption route ni dia ada 2 jenis. Yang pertama adalah paracellular reabsorption. Yang kedua adalah transcellular reabsorption. Ni laluan dia. Laluan yang pertama paracellular reabsorption ni yang ini. Dia melalui antara 2 sel ni. Kita ada tubul sel dengan tubul sel ni dia bergerak di antara ni. Okey? Between 2 adjacent cell ni. Kemudian untuk yang transcellular reabsorption ni dia masuk ke dalam sel. Dia masuk ke dalam sel tubul ni, kemudian dia akan pergilah ke luar. Dia akan pergi ke luar dan dia akan masuk ke dalam tissue fluid, interstitial fluid ni, kemudian dia akan masuk ke dalam peritubular capillary. Jadi di sini ni dia ada melalui, kalau yang ini dia melalui diffusion. Okey, melalui diffusion. And the second one tu dia melalui active transport. Okey, dan untuk dia keluar ke dalam tu dia melalui sodium potassium pump. Okey, sodium potassium pump dan active transport lah. Nampak tak warna dia tu, warna purple tu kan? Kemudian dia ada sodium potassium pump di situ yang akan menyebabkan dia move out from the tubule cell tu. Jadi ini adalah dia punya reabsorption route. Kita tak cerita tentang dia punya pergerakan ya, transport tu, dia punya laluan. Jadi laluan ni sama ada dia melalui sel ataupun dia bergerak di antara 2 sel. Bergerak di antara 2 sel. Okey, sekarang ni barulah kita nak pergi kepada transport mechanism. Okey, tadi kita tengok kepada reabsorption route. Sekarang ni kita nak pergi fahamkan tentang transport mechanism. For the transport mechanism ni, dia ada banyak dia penerangan dia dalam ni. Saya rasa kamu boleh baca lah ya. Takkan saya nak baca satu-satu. When renal cell transport solute tu. Jadi banyak lah ya. Saya tak nak baca lah yang itu. Nanti you can read by yourself. Tapi I will try to explain in a much more simple way lah. Simpler way. Jadi kita ada transport mechanism. Kalau kamu ingat lagi dulu kamu ada belajar transport mechanism, transport of substance across the plasma membrane tu, dia ada 2 type. Kita ada passive transport dengan active transport. For passive transport ni kita ada facilitated diffusion, we have the osmosis, we have the simple diffusion. For facilitative diffusion, they're using the protein. Sama ada dia protein channel ke, carrier protein ke, pore protein ke, but the help of protein. For simple diffusion, they can easily across the plasma membrane, okay? Whether they're moving out of the cell atau moving into the cell, okay? And then we have the osmosis. Osmosis of course lah involving the water. Dia tak ada benda lain. Osmosis mesti water. And then we have the active transport. But for active transport, dia have certain criteria to undergo the active transport. First of all, they need to use ATP. They required ATP. Jadi ATP tu yang akan cause the conformational change ataupun cause the movements of substance. Okay, movement of substance. Then they required the help of the channel protein atau carrier protein atau pore protein. And then they must against the concentration gradient. Against the concentration. That's what we learned previously is primary active transport. Okay, primary active transport. But they have another one, secondary active transport. Okay, secondary active transport. Jadi, that means the movement of certain substance, they still require the energy. They still require the energy. But, dia indirectly akan influence the concentration gradient inside certain places. Disebabkan ada sesuatu yang bergerak disebabkan oleh primary active transport tu, dia lost dia punya concentration gradient dekat situ dan dia create another concentration gradient yang tinggi kat tempat yang lain. Jadi menyebabkan tempat lain tu nanti dia boleh bergerak lah. Dia boleh bergerak. Jadi bila pergerakan dia tu indirectly influenced by another movement of substance caused by active transport, then they can have a movement. That's why we call them as a secondary active transport. Nanti saya akan explain using the diagram. Okay, yang ni kau boleh baca lah ya. Apa benda banyak tu. Okay, now we move to reabsorption and secretion in proximal convoluted tubule. Okay, proximal convoluted tubule. I will not trying to read everything here, but rather than using the diagram itself lah. Okay, diagram itself. Jadi kita ada di sini reabsorption of glucose by the sodium glucose symphoter. Jadi ada perkataan symphoter di sini. Symphoter ni dia macam seolah-olah paralel. Dia duduk sekali. Jadi kalau sodium ion ni dia bergerak, glucose akan bergerak in the similar direction. Okay, in similar direction. Jadi kalau kamu nampak dekat sini, kita ada 2 sodium ion, we have glucose. 2 sodium ion, we have glucose. Jadi, kamu nampak di sini dia ada sodium ion glucose symphoter. Okay? Jadi, ini maksudnya with the help of the symphoter. With the help of the carrier protein. Jadi, carrier protein tu kita panggil nama dia sebagai sodium ion glucose symphoter. Jadi, pergerakan dia tu from the high concentration to low concentration. Nampak tak? Pergerakan dia daripada high to low concentration. Sebab apa? High to low sebab dia without using energy. Dia tak menggunakan tenaga. Kan? Dia ni. Nampak tak direction dia tu? Dia bergerak, dia tak bagi tahu pun menggunakan tenaga di sini, ya. Tak menggunakan tenaga di sini. Sebab apa? Dia follow the concentration gradient atau down concentration gradient. Okey? Tetapi di sini kita tak panggil dia sebagai facilitated diffusion. Kita panggil dia sebagai secondary active transport. Kenapa secondary active transport? Di sini ni kamu nampak. Sodium ion ni dia akan dibawa keluar. They will be transported out from the proximal convoluted tubule cell ni to the interstitial fluid ataupun interstitial space. Jadi bila dia been moving out using the active transport, dia akan menyebabkan sodium ion dalam tubule cell ni rendah, low. Kenapa? Sebab dia dibawa keluar menggunakan active transport using the ATP. Jadi dia akan create concentration gradient yang tinggi di sini, yang rendah di sini. Disebabkan apa? Sebabkan dia ada active transport yang bawa sodium ni keluar. Sebab tu kita panggil dia secondary active transport. Jadi in the whole process, movement of sodium yang ini, glucose yang ini, caused by the movement of this sodium to outside. Movement of this sodium to outside. Jadi lagi satu kamu nampak, sodium potassium pump ni dia ada banyak dekat kawasan luar. Dia tidak ada dekat kawasan ni ataupun dia less concentrated on the apical membrane ni. Okey, dia ada banyak dekat kawasan ni. That's we call as a secondary active transport. Now for the glucose, it will move out using the facilitated diffusion lah. They have here, we have the glucose facilitated diffusion transporter. Okey, tapi yang ini kita panggil symporter. Symporter sebab apa? Sebab 2 sodium ion with glucose will move out at the similar time on the same direction. Jadi daripada kawasan lumen ni, dia masuk ke proximal convoluted tubule cell. Okey. Now we move to here. We have the action of sodium ion, hydrogen ion, antiporter in the proximal convoluted tubule cell. Okey, ni antiporter. Okay, reabsorption of sodium ion, secretion of hydrogen ion via secondary active transport. Okay, secondary active transport ni yang kedua lah. Yang ni yang pertama, yang kedua. Jadi, reabsorption of bicarbonate ion via facilitated diffusion through basolateral membrane. Di sini ni ada carbon dioxide, ada carbonic acid, ada carbonic anhydrase. Okay, tak apa. Kita go one by one. Jadi, kita pergi dulu kepada sodium ion reabsorption, hydrogen secretion. Jadi kamu nampak dekat sini, dia ada sodium ion. Jadi sodium ion ni bila dia bergerak masuk, ada hydrogen ion yang bergerak keluar daripada proximal convoluted tubule cell. Jadi dia akan masuk ke tubule lumen. Tubule lumen tu dia masuk ke dalam bahagian proximal convoluted cell tu lah, proximal convoluted distal. Okey, betul ke? Proximal convoluted distal pula. Proximal convoluted tubule. Okey, dia akan masuk ke proximal convoluted tubule. Jadi yang tubule cell bahagian tepi lah. Okey, jadi dia akan bergerak secara bergerak secara opposite direction. Jadi sodium ni dah masuk, hydrogen dah keluar. Keluar ni maksudnya dia dah mengalami secretion. Sodium ni dia sebenarnya dalam ongoing to undergo reabsorption. Tetapi sodium ni kamu kena ingat, dia akan dibawa keluar. Jadi dibawa keluar oleh sodium potassium pump ni. Jadi dia akan using the ATP. Jadi bila dia dibawa keluar, dia akan create low concentration gradient of sodium inside the proximal convoluted tubule. Jadi bila dia create low concentration gradient inside the proximal convoluted tubule, that cause the sodium ion here to move inside proximal convoluted tubule. Jadi indirectly, the movement of this sodium to outside of the proximal convoluted tubule cause the movement of this sodium ion to inside of the proximal convoluted tubule. Sebab tu kita panggil dia secondary active transport. Jadi maksudnya untuk pergerakan sodium ion ni to inside of proximal convoluted tubule, they still required ATP energy. But somehow they're not directly. We call them as a secondary active transport. Jadi bila ada pergerakan sodium ion ni, they will cause the movement of hydrogen ion also because of this antiporter. Okay, antiporter. Jadi hydrogen ion ni come from where? Okay, they come from where? They come from the combinations of the carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide come from the carbon dioxide inside the tubule lumen. They move by the diffusion. Maybe by the simple diffusion. Simple diffusion lah carbon dioxide kan. Okay, jadi they move from the tubule lumen to inside of the proximal convoluted tubule. Jadi inside the proximal convoluted tubule also have water. Jadi water ni, okay, carbon dioxide also can come from the peritubular capillary. Dia boleh juga berasal dari peritubular capillary. Dan kalau untuk proximal convoluted tubule cell pun, kalau dia undergo process in producing the ATP, in the glycolysis, in mitochondria itself, okay, respiration kan, cellular respiration, of course they will also produce the carbon dioxide. The cell itself will produce the carbon dioxide. That means the carbon dioxide can come from the tubule lumen, can come from the peritubular capillary, can come from the tubule cell itself. Jadi carbon dioxide ni akan bind with the water in the help of carbonic anhydrase ni enzyme. Jadi bila dia bind with the water, carbon dioxide with the help of carbonic anhydrase, they will form the carbonic acid. They will form carbonic acid. Carbonic acid ni, they can lose their hydrogen atau dissociate. They can lose hydrogen, they become hydrogen, free hydrogen. And also the bicarbonate ion. The hydrogen itself can be transported into the tubule lumen. Tubule lumen in antipolar punya reaction. And the bicarbonate ion can move out from the proximal convoluted tubule cell to the interstitial fluid. Okay, to the interstitial fluid, dan dia akan menggunakan, kita panggil sebagai sini, facilitated diffusion transporter. Ni facilitated diffusion transporter. Dan dia akan masuklah ke dalam peritubular capillary. Okay. And then we have the bicarbonate ion reabsorption. Okay, bicarbonate ion reabsorption. Jadi sama lah kat sini ya. Bila ada hydrogen ion ni, ada bicarbonate ion dalam fluid in the tubule lumen, they will form the carbonic acid. Okay, jadi carbonic acid ni, they can break down, they becoming the water and also the carbon dioxide. Jadi carbon dioxide can enter here, and also they will have the combination with the help of carbonic anhydrase lah. Jadi acid carbonic ni can dissociate, they become the bicarbonate ion. They will move out. Okay, using the bicarbonate ion facilitated diffusion transport. That's one of the way lah ya, one of the way. Okay, from here bicarbonate ion, they up until they entering this proximal convoluted tubule, then they out to the interstitial fluid, they entering the peritubular capillary. Okay, it's not very difficult lah. Kemudian kamu baca lah yang lain-lain tu. Okay, banyak-banyak ni, try to understand lah ya. Kemudian kita ada passive reabsorption of chloride ion, potassium ion, calcium ion, magnesium ion, urea, water in the second half of proximal convoluted tubule. Jadi ada diffusion saja di sini. Okay, diffusion. Sama ada dia across between the cell ni, ataupun dia across the cell itself. Okay, jadi water of course lah, dia boleh sama ada dia across between the cell ataupun dia masuk ke dalam sel. Jadi they have diffusion here, we have the osmosis here, yeah. And then we go to the reabsorption in the loop of Henle. Okay, ni pun bolehlah baca ya, apa benda yang ada di situ. Saya nak cerita tentang apa yang ni lah, yang diagram ni. Jadi kita ada diagram ni, sodium, potassium, chloride, symphoter. Jadi bila sebut symphoter ni, dia bergerak sekali semua. Okay, in thick ascending limb. Ascending tu dia naik. Okay, ascending tu dia naik. Okay, thick tu dia ada bahagian tebal dia ada bahagian yang nipis, dia thin kan. Ni kawasan tebal dia menaik. Okay, jadi di sini ada pergerakan di sini, ya, pergerakan. Jadi samalah ni secondary active transport. Secondary active transport sebab apa? Sebab ni sodium ni. Okey, sodium ni dibawa keluar menggunakan primary active transport. Jadi dia akan create concentration gradient, low concentration gradient of the sodium ion. Jadi kawasan fluid in the tubule lumen ni akan tinggi. Jadi bila tinggi, bila dia bergerak, dia akan bergerak sama dengan chloride ion dengan potassium ion. Okey. Dan potassium ion ni boleh keluar melalui leakage of channel. Leakage channel. Dia boleh keluar, ada bocor pada channel tu. Ya. Kemudian ada diffusion. Dia bergerak secara diffusion. Ya. Ini bersama chloride ion, dia boleh bergerak keluar, dia ada leakage channel. Dia bergerak by diffusion. Okey. It's not really difficult lah. Apa lagi ya? Okay, reabsorption of sodium, secretion of potassium by principal cell in the last part of distal convoluted tubule. Jadi ini pada distal convoluted tubule. Jadi reabsorption. Jadi reabsorptions daripada luar ni ada leakage channel di sini. Dia moving by the diffusion. Okay, diffusion. Tetapi diffusion itself also helped by the movement of sodium to outside of the cell. Okay, to outside of the cell by the active transport. Jadi sodium potassium pump ni menyebabkan potassium ni akan masuk lah. Potassium akan masuk. Jadi potassium ni walaupun dia masuk, dia boleh juga keluar. Dia ada leakage channel, by diffusion dia akan keluar ataupun dia akan masuk ke tubule lumen. Kalau dia masuk ke tubule lumen ni, dia akan ada secretion kita panggil. Okey, kalau yang ini dia bergerak masuk balik sajalah ya. Okey, jadi habislah bahagian reabsorption and secretion. Hopefully you understand lah ya. Now we try to understand about the hormonal regulation and tubular reabsorption and tubular secretion.